Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK. Back at you with another video here to bring the Thursday Night Football Showdown slate between the 49ers and the Packers. Before I get into the video, if you guys are new to the channel, my name's DK. I make daily videos breaking out NBA, NFL, PGA, and esports daily fantasy sports slates. Before we get into the video, I do want to say thank you guys again for all support. It is greatly appreciated on the videos, the live streams, as well as on Twitter. The easiest way to support me, since all the content is free, is leave a like button on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you know when I upload videos and you know when I go live. I will be live streaming 30 minutes before lock on my YouTube channel going over everything, and there is going to be a lot to talk about in the slate. If you like mayhem, madness, this is the slate for you, because there is a ton of injuries, ton of guys out. We don't even know for sure if the game's going to be played. I hope it is, but yeah, there is... It's going to be an interesting slate for sure. But yeah, if you guys cannot watch the YouTube videos, I do upload an Apple podcast. The link is in the description below. It's the DK DFS show. But with that all out of the way, let's jump into the video. So before we talk about players and the prices for this crazy slate, let's look back at my lineup for Monday's Showdown slate. So Monday night Showdown slate went really well for me. Hopefully you guys checked out the live stream. I know a lot of you guys that did. Fared really well. I told you guys where I was going. I went Gallman and the captain. I wanted to get a little bit riskier, but I was a little bit, I guess my big surprise was the Tampa Bay defense at, 7.4K being 40% owned, right? Like, I get the play of trying to be contrarian, but it was just like that. It just was a huge shock to me that the defense picked up 40% ownership. Now, sure, right? They had a couple picks. They had a chance to maybe return one, but you really needed a defensive touchdown for them to pay off their salary. So I thought that ownership was way too high in my opinion. But yeah, back to my lineup again. Gallman, mentioned I was going with him in the live stream at captain. I talked about Mike Evans being the guy for me at the spend up with no Chris Godwin. He was really solid. Paired him with Brady, who was super chalk. Talked about getting to Jones. I like the price there for him, and he was below 50% owned. It was just 9.2K for quarterback. I thought it was too cheap on a showdown slate, and it actually paid off. Leonard Fournette, talked about him. I liked him over Ronald Jones. He definitely outperformed Ronald Jones. He scored more than him, and it was $3,000 less. And then finally, Golden Tate for value. I feel like I got a little bit lucky there, to be honest. Like the touchdown there at the end. He wasn't involved a whole lot in the offense. I didn't see him out there a ton either. Like he was not playing a lot of snaps. So I feel like that play got a little bit of lucky. But yeah, overall it was a really nice night for me from the showdown slates. But as always, again, I never enter a ton of these slates. There's a lot of luck involved, a lot of variance. I know I've been running good recently, but that's not always the case, right? There's a lot of luck involved in these slates. But they are fun, right? They're fun to talk about. So let's talk about this slate, which is, it is... First, before we talk about all the players and, all the guys injured or on IR, let's take a look at the Vegas numbers. So yeah, it's a 49 over under currently. Packers are 7-point favorites. Yeah, not super surprised with the total there, and Packers being favorites. Obviously, 49ers, no Jimmy G, no Kittle, ton of injuries, with their wide receivers as well as, running backs. So, yeah, I'm not surprised there. Green Bay also dealing with some injuries at running back, potentially. No Aaron Jones. We already have no Jamal Williams and no A.J. Dillon. So, we'll talk about that. Normally these snap counts, like looking back from last week, are... you kind of get a good idea of what it's going to be like. But on this slate, it's almost you can throw it out the window, right? Because Jamal Williams, he played basically the entire game with no Aaron Jones. Well, Jamal Williams is out, so kind of throw that out the window. They have St. Brown here listed as a running back. He is a wide receiver, so he played about 30% of the snaps. Irvin, potentially value play here. He played 27% of the snaps there. If Aaron Jones is out, he's at the flat minimum. As well as Dexter Williams, two guys that are definitely viable punts if we do have news that Aaron Jones is not able to go. If Aaron Jones is good to go, then I fully expect him to get a majority of the work here. So let's talk about wide receiver. It's a wide receiver for Green Bay. We know like Devontae Adams is going to basically play the entire game. MVS, I know Packers fans have been really disappointed with him. He has not been great, but he's still their number 2 guy. He played 83% of the snaps, so yeah, he's a viable play. The other wide receivers are, we talked about St. Brown playing about 30% of the snaps, Shepard 25%, and Taylor 17%. And nothing you can really feel good about, right? I think there's probably better value to go to with, again, potentially Green Bay running backs if Jones is out. We have basically everyone on San Francisco's wide receivers out. So there's other value I think is probably a little bit better, depending on some news. Tight end situation for Green Bay, yeah, Tanyan played 61% of the snaps last game. Sternberger has been, I think he had 4 targets last game. He played 37%. He's shown he's a decent pass catching tight end. And the veteran Mercedes Lewis played 27% of the snaps. Running back situation for San Francisco, well, McKinnon, Hasty, they're the only healthy running backs on the roster. Coleman got injured. He's out. Everyone else for San Francisco at running back is out, so it's going to be McKinnon and Hasty. I think it's probably Hasty, the early down guy, McKinnon, the third down back. So again, all about how you think this game flows. But right now, San Francisco is 7-point dogs. So you would assume this is probably a better game script for a guy, Jerick McKinnon. Wide receiver situation, again, we can basically just throw this out the window, right? Ayuk, out. Kendrick Bourne, out. Trent Taylor is the only, him and potentially Richie James, if he's also questionable, are the only healthy receivers, and Trent Taylor plays out of the slot. So this one's going to be a headache. We'll talk about more of the 49ers' cheap wide receivers here. And then tight end situation, George Kittle, out. He's out for basically the entire season. We do have Jordan Reed potentially coming back, which I think is interesting here. Ross Dwelly played 56% of the snaps. If Jordan Reed is out, then I think Ross Dwelly does make for a really nice play. If Jordan Reed is in, then that's going to change things up. We'll see how much Reed is actually going to play. But we've seen games when Reed's been healthy, the San Francisco 49ers have really targeted him. So that's it for the look at the snaps from the most recent game. Let's talk about players and their prices now. So in the flex position, Davante Adams at 12.4 is going to be 90+% owned, maybe more. There is so much value on the slate, especially if Aaron Jones gets ruled out too. Then there's just 5 or 6 guys at $200 that are in play on the slate. So yeah, for that if Aaron Jones gets ruled out, I think Davante Adams could push for over 95% ownership, to be honest, just because, what else is there to spend up on, right? So, yeah, he is going to be so popular. Obviously, you play him in cash. I don't even think you fade him in GPPs, to be honest. I'll let the 5 to 10% of people try to, if it's even that much, fade him. But, yeah, for me, it's a plug-and-play on this slate. I don't even think it's worth the risk of fading. I think the only way he doesn't get there is if something crazy happens, an injury or something, right? So, yeah, Davante Adams is the clear top play of the slate there at 12.4. He's been getting, just an insane amount of targets, 10, 16, and 12 the last 3 games, 5 touchdowns the last 2 games. That's probably not going to continue, but yeah, the upside and Adams is just through the roof. Aaron Rodgers at 11K is also going to be really, really popular. I would say above 90% owned on the slate probably. And again, cash games, you definitely play them. Could you make the argument to fade for GPPs with Rodgers? I guess I could at least consider it, but I'm not. Full disclosure, I'm playing Devontae. I'm playing Aaron Rodgers. I'm personally not gonna risk it. Quarterbacks on these showdown sites always do have the highest floor, and Rodgers, 3 of the last 4 games has played really well. Besides that terrible game at Tampa Bay, 23, 27, and 32 fancy points. Sure, the matchup, I guess, is not the best against San Francisco, but I just think the floor is so high in him. Adams, Rodgers are going to be insane chalk in this slate. Now, Aaron Jones, if he does play, I think that does lower the ownership on guys like Adams, Rodgers. But if Jones is out, like I said, there's nothing to spend up for, right? So that's going to basically just force Rodgers and Davante Adams to be close to 100% owned. Aaron Jones, this is something to monitor because they have him listed as questionable. We have no Jamal Williams. We have no A.J. Dillon. So if Jones plays, I think he does get a majority of the work. If he misses, then it's Irvin, it's Dexter Williams, both the flat min. So got to keep an eye on this. If he does play, I don't think he will be as popular as Rodgers and Davante Adams, but definitely worth, in my opinion, paying up for if he's available. He's shown that he's not like a true workhorse back, but when he does get the touches, he's so productive. And how much work would they want to give to Irvin or Dexter Williams even, right? So I think if he does play, he probably gets maybe above 70% of the snaps there. So Aaron Jones definitely a play I think is really safe, but got to monitor his status there. Currently up in the air. Again, no George Kittle. Nick Mullins is the starting quarterback for San Francisco, no Jimmy G. At 9.2K, this is another situation like Daniel Jones. I just think I think that's a little bit too cheap for quarterback. The matchup against Green Bay is solid. It's not amazing. It's not terrible. But Mullins has actually shown, when he's played, he's been pretty decent, right? 25 to 36, 18 to 26, 18 to 25. He's completing about 70% of his passes. 4 touchdowns, 2 picks is perfectly fine. So, sure, he's probably not going to blow the roof off the slate, but I think he is going to make for one of the safer options at 9.2K for a starting quarterback. So, yeah, I have interest in Nick Mullins. I like the price there. With him and Rodgers, obviously Rodgers is going to be more popular. Probably the safe way to go on the slate is try to get both quarterbacks and maybe one of those studs for Green Bay. You might be able to get all 4 if we do get some other news. But yeah, there's a lot of viable plays at like flat mint. So again, no Jonathan Williams. Ayuk is also out. We just got the news recently. So San Francisco is super thin. McKinnon's at 8K. He didn't get a whole lot of touches in the ground, only 3 carries. So this is all about how you think the game plays out. If you think the 49ers are going to be playing from behind, which is, likely, not guaranteed because they're 7-point dogs, but it's likely they'll be playing from behind, then McKinnon looks better than Hasty because he's their pass-catching running back. He had 4 catches and 4 targets. If you think the 49ers surprise us and are playing from ahead, then Hasty is probably your guy. So, sure, the price of McKinnon at 8K, I don't think he's going to be super popular just because, the guys at the top are going to be the ultimate chalk, right? Adams, Rodgers, potentially Jones. I think Mullins will still get some decent ownership. So I think McKinnon kind of flies under the radar, but still has upside. And especially if they're playing from behind, right? He's a guy that, I would not be shocked if he goes for like 7 or 8 catches. So, obviously a situation it's all about, if you're building laps, build it with how you think the game flows. Still no Mostert. Samuel, COVID. Lazard's still out. Hasty's at 7-2. So, I probably do prefer the play with McKinnon for a little bit more, just because Hasty's the guy that I think will be the early down back. And I think San Francisco's probably going to be playing from behind in this one. It's not guaranteed, but I feel more comfortable with the floor of catches for McKinnon and how I think the game is going to go. But that doesn't make Hasty out of play. I think he's just more of a contrarian option. There's always a chance San Francisco surprises us and they do play from ahead. If that's the case, it does make Hasty a little bit more viable at 7-2. But still, I would have wished if he was cheaper. And no Jeff Wilson still. Tanyan at 6'4" is just fine. Did have 7 targets last week against Minnesota, 5 catches. I just think it's a little bit pricey, to be honest. And he's going to fly under the radar at this price. Right? He's just a weird price range on the slate. It's definitely going to be a stars and scrubs slate, like 100%, right? The guys at the top, and there's a bunch of value at the bottom. So Tanyan in the mid-range, this mid-range is going to go forgotten about, right? Like guys like Tanyan, guys like Hasty, a guy like McKinnon are going to be pretty low owned. And this is a slate. We have another Millie Maker slate. I'll talk about it more in the live stream, but I could realistically see leaving like $5,000 plus on the table salary-wise. And if you do that, it's obviously going to differentiate yourself. So, mess around with builds, but this is a slate where I think you can leave a lot of money on the table. Jordan Reed, so he's at 5.8K. Again, we have no Kittle. So if Jordan Reed plays, I think he makes for an interesting play here. Now, my concern is, I think they will limit his snaps. But the game against the Jets, I forget how many snaps he played. He played very few snaps. And when he had 7 catches and 8 targets. They basically just targeted him whenever he was out there. I think he played maybe less than 20%. Like, it was an insane amount. Like, maybe about 20% of snaps. I forget what it was exactly, but he did not play a lot. And basically, whenever he was out there, he just got targeted. So, Yeah, I think Reed is, something we'll monitor. Hopefully, get some sort of clarity on if he is going to be on like a snap count, a limit. If he is, obviously makes him riskier. If there's no limit and he's good to go, full go, then I like Jordan Reed a lot here because San Francisco, well, they have no one at wide receiver. So I do like Jordan Reed a good amount. Again, that's something to monitor though about, it's going to be limited. We'll get that news most likely tomorrow. So that's why it is important to check on the live stream, guys. Again, no Tevin Coleman. The Packers D at 5-2. It's still a little bit too pricey for me. Can you go there? I can see it. But for one lineup guys, if you're a one lineup guy like myself, I don't think you go there on the slate. There's just so much good value that paying 5-2 for defense is, in my opinion, not optimal, right? But there's always a chance it could pay off. But yeah, for me, I'm going to be passing on the Packers defense. Dwelly, so he's at 4.8K. If Jordan Reed is out, I really like Ross Dwelly. He is, a decent pass-catching tight end, and he's a guy that will probably play a majority of the game. And like I said, San Francisco, they have no one healthy, a wide receiver. So de facto, he would probably be one of the top targets. So yeah, if Reed is out, I do really like Dwelly there at 8-4, or 4-8. The two kickers with Crosby and Gold are in play, but there's so much good value, in my opinion, that I don't think it makes sense to get to the kickers. Sure, right? If you're making a ton of lineups, yeah, you can throw the kickers in there. But like I said, there is a lot of really, really good cheap value on this slate. 49ers defense at 3-8. I'm not getting into them. I think that's a pretty easy fade against Green Bay. MVS at 3-4. Now, I don't think he's going to be super popular. But he is still playing a majority of the game. He has really struggled last couple of weeks with only one catch. But again, he has Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. He's playing a majority of the game. I think he's at least in consideration here at 3.4K. Sternberger, more of a contrarian play, but did have 4 targets last week, 3 catches, and he's the backup tight end. But I think he does. What did he play last week? He played 37% of the snaps. Again, it's more contrarian because I think there's probably better value options. St. Brown at 1.2K, kind of the same thing. I just think more of a contrarian play. He'll probably get 20 to 30% of the snaps. Not enough for me to get super excited about it. Kyle Juszczyk maybe gets a carry or two, where he had 4 carries against New England, but not enough for me really to get to Juszczyk either. Taylor, Shepard, kind of the same thing. 800 for Taylor, 600 for Shepard. I don't think we have to go there for guys that are not going to play enough for me to really warrant or feel really comfortable. Right, 25% for Shepard, 17% for Taylor. In my opinion, we don't have to go there. There's more contrarian options. Now we get to the value plays here, and there are a ton. Trent Taylor, $400. De facto number 1 wide receiver here for San Francisco. He's playing out of the slot. I don't think he's going to blow the roof off the slate, but he doesn't need to do a lot, obviously, at this price. I'm going to say that about a lot of guys, but I think he does play a good amount of the game. Again, he's their slot receiver. I would guess, they're probably playing from behind, so 60-70% of the snaps would be, I think, a fair guess. I think Trent Taylor is definitely one of many cheap value plays on the slate. Now, Tyler Ervin, mentioned him. He's at the flat mint, $200. If Aaron Jones is out, he's probably going to be their number 1 back. So, yeah, a starting running back at the flat min in this Green Bay offense, he would be probably the top value play on the slate. Now, they still do have Dexter Williams. It's a little bit unclear on what the split would be. Irvin has shown he's probably the better receiving back. Maybe Dexter Williams is the early down back. So that'll be something we'll hopefully get some clarity on as well tomorrow. But yeah, both in play here. We'll talk about Dexter Williams in a sec. So many $200 plays. And Mercedes Lewis, in my opinion, who's on to do it. He's getting up there in age. Maybe gets a target or two, but I just think there's better value. Seth Roberts is on the practice squad, so do not play him. Warner, Charlie Warner will, if Jordan Reed is out, probably be the backup tight end. But again, I don't think we have to do that. And now we get to some more value plays. So I guess we'll talk about River Kirkcraft. That's a real name. He is on the practice squad, but I think he'll play in this game. I think he'll play a decent amount. They have, again, Trent Taylor, Richie James status is up in the air, and they have Kevin White. So if Richie James is out, then I think her Kraft probably does get a good amount of snaps. But again, this is something we'll have to look into more tomorrow. Currently still on the practice squad, but like I said, San Francisco, they have no one. So yeah, you can consider him. Pettis is no longer on the team, so you can't go there. Richie James is a potential value. I think if he does play, he would be one of the top targets here for San Francisco, but he's no guarantee he plays, dealing with an ankle injury. So got to keep an eye on that. If he does play, I think he is one of the better value plays. Love it. Yeah, don't have to go there, obviously. Dexter Williams, he's at 200. Yeah, if Aaron Jones is out, it's going to be him and Irvin. I think probably Irvin does get more work, but we'll see. All right, if Dexter Williams is going to make the early down back, then maybe he's the guy that's safer. Either way, I think both are in play. I think you can play both, too, if you want to. Right? If you think it's make an even 50-50 split, they're both at the flat min. So, yeah, both Packers running backs are 100% in play here, especially if Aaron Jones is out. They're two of the top plays at the slate. Kevin White. So, he is on the practice squad, but I think he'll be promoted here just because they have no one else, right? And who's going to play out wide, right? Taylor's going to be in the slot. My guess is if Richie James plays, it'll be Richie James and Kevin White on the outside, Trent Taylor in the slot, and then Kraft will probably be the number 4 receiver. But if Richie James is out, then Kraft probably has to play a good amount. That's just my best guess. Again, we'll hopefully get clarity on that more before lock. But yeah, Kevin White is obviously we haven't seen a lot from him in the last few years here, but I think he's 100% in play. And if he's going to be a starting wide receiver, yeah, I definitely have interest in Kevin White. And that about wraps it up. Again, everyone else is out. So, hope you guys stuck with that. It is going to be a really interesting slate. That's all I got to say. But yeah, let's talk about captains. And let's talk about cash games. So right now, if Aaron Jones is out for cash, I think it's pretty clear. Play those two guys. Play Mullins. Right? There's enough value. You can definitely get all three in. So yeah, that's pretty clear. I think you can, if Aaron Jones plays, I think you can play all 4 of these guys. It's a viable build, right? 3,800 remaining. You can mess around with it. I've had to play someone cheap in the captain, but there's a ton of plays at the flat mint. So like I said, this is definitely a slate you could leave money on the table. But again, if Aaron Jones plays, this is probably the core I go with. And then mess around with the value, right? There's a lot of good value. But if Aaron Jones is out, then again, Irvin and Dexter Williams. So those are the safe plays, obviously. Devontae, Rodgers, right? Don't tell you that. They're going to be super, super popular. I think Mullins won't be as popular as them, but definitely will get ownership just because there's hardly anyone to spend up on. The mid-range on this slate, like I said, is a little bit more constrained just because it's going to be stars and scrubs. But don't rule out McKinnon, right? He's a really good pass-catching back. Probably game they're playing from behind. Hasty is super risky play because no real involvement in the passing game, but if you think that San Francisco is playing from ahead, you can at least consider him. And Tanya more of a contrarian play. The tight end situation for San Francisco, whether it be Reed or whether it be Dwelly, man, either way, I like either tight end. If Reed plays and it's not going to be limited, I really like him. If Reed is out, I really like Ross Dwelly there at 4.8. And then, like I said, MVS is certainly playable here at 3.4. And then you just have the insane amount of guys at the flat min that are in play. Both Packers running backs, if Aaron Jones are out, I think are 2 of the top plays. We have basically all the San Francisco wide receivers at the flat min. So it is just going to be a crazy, crazy slate, guys. But yeah, we'll talk about more builds, I guess, in the live stream. And if you guys obviously want to know where I'm going, and we'll tell you guys that in the live stream as well. So thanks again, guys, for checking out the video. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you guys all tomorrow in the live stream.